And all you rugby fans out there will be very pleased to know that my next guest is a former Irish international rugby player, Dennis Hickie. Last played in the last Rugby World Cup. He retired from professional rugby in November 2007, but he's here today in a political capacity because Dennis feels so strongly about the Lisbon Treaty. He joined the Ireland for Europe organisation, which has been campaigning for a yes to Lisbon vote, and they're actually today launching their national campaign. Dennis Hickie, good morning to you.
Morning, how are you?
Okay, so why did you get involved with the Ireland for Europe campaign?
Well, I got asked to be a patron actually of the organisation, and which I agreed to, and then two series of conversations about the treaty itself and understanding the treaty a bit more and what direction the campaign maybe should take. I ended up getting involved on a full-time basis. So, because you feel very strongly about the need for Ireland to vote yes to the Lisbon Treaty. I do, yeah. I think I thought the no vote last time was. I don't disagree with the fundamentals of people voting no, but I think the fact that a huge majority of people who did vote no cited the fact they didn't understand what they were voting about as a legitimate reason that we could be voting again. And I think the implications of a no vote it's the implications of the no vote that I would be worried about from an Irish point of view.
And what do you think will be those implications if we vote no again?
You see, it's not a case of if we vote no and the next day we're kicked out of the EU. I've never put forward that argument or support anyone who would. I think it's more to the fact that the EU has been shaped over the last 30 years by the people who are to the forefront of it, and one of those longest standing members has been Ireland. We've been very involved with the way the Union has developed, and if there's any problems with the Union, we're largely responsible for that as much as anyone else. Now, over the next 30 years, it's going to be taking another different direction, and it's new issues and all, and things that maybe the current structure is not capable of dealing with as efficiently as it should be. And these issues, if we are going to be in Europe, and unless you're on the far right who think we should pull, or the far left who think we should pull out of Europe, we're going to be affected by whatever direction Europe takes. And I don't see how it's in Ireland's interest not to be in a position to be listened to and to be taken seriously on this direction if we vote no and then expect to be heard and our opinions considered.
But what are people saying to you, Dennis, when you go around and you're campaigning and you're meeting people? What are they saying to you about their concerns about the Lisbon Treaty? Because if you look at the Irish Times poll that came out towards the end of the week, there was a decrease in support for a yes vote to the Lisbon Treaty, which was interesting. And also it seems that a lot of professional people, the better off in society, are going to vote yes. But those at the bottom rung of the ladder, maybe particularly economically, are really concerned about what this will mean for them.
Well, I think the slide has actually has been into the don't knows, and I still think a lot of people, and the people I talk to, still don't fully understand what the treaty is about. And I wonder, is that ever going to change with the way it's debated? And it's very difficult to get any sort of long debate about the contents of the treaty because it's two very polarised opinions and a very polarised interpretation. But what seems quite obvious is, as you said, the people who have greatest concerns have concerns around an issue certainly is workers' rights. Now, I'm not a worker and I've never been a worker, so apart from kicking a rugby ball, and that has been my job.
That's what you've done all the time.
That has been my job.
Yes, yeah.
So, but I think probably if you look at the people who do represent workers, the European Congress of Trade Union have come out in support, and most recently SIPTU. And I think it's SIPTU's position which is the most sensible with regards to the workers' rights. They're not saying that this treaty is a panacea for all workers' rights and all our economic woes. But they're saying that ratifying the Lisbon Treaty will actually improve the situation for workers' rights in the sense that it elevates the right to engage in collective bargaining and the right to take collective action, which are enshrined in the Charter of Fundamental Rights, and that makes them on the same level as the four freedoms. And I think what they're trying to say, and as I said, it's what I would take my position from, is that this is the position that workers' rights can be negotiated from. It's certainly not. Nothing is going to be to the detriment of workers' rights by voting this. And in fact, this is the platform where workers who have issues with it and trade unions who have issues can use this as the basis on which to move forward. And I think in that respect, it'll depend a lot on the people we elect next time around to represent those views.
But isn't it interesting that here you are? You are very much associated with international rugby. You played on behalf of Ireland, you represented your country, and yet you feel obliged to go out and spread the message about the Lisbon Treaty because you're afraid, obviously, that if the likes of yourself and others who may be involved in various yes campaigns don't do that, there's a danger that the government and the political parties won't do the job properly.
Well, I wouldn't put any real faith in any of the political parties on their campaigns, because one of the reasons I got involved this time around is because I thought the campaigns run by all the political parties last night were verging on the negligent in terms of campaigning. You had the situation where parties all across the board were using election posters to actually put forward and make people familiarise themselves with candidates for the recent European elections we had, not addressing the issues, not bothering to address the issues, not bothering to communicate the issues to the people who are going to be most likely affected by the outcome of it. And that's the reason I got involved in the first place. I put very little faith in political parties from all spectrums. I've absolutely no political allegiances, and that's one of the reasons I got involved. And that's why Ireland for Europe it's a non-political organisation for that exact reason. And after this vote, it'll disappear, just as quickly as it was founded.
But there is a real concern about a legitimate concern about the way the European Union is run, and the belief that it is run by an elite core, whether rightly or wrongly, that's the perception of bureaucrats in Brussels, that policies are made behind closed doors, that our European parliamentary representatives don't really have that much power, and that we simply don't have enough say in what legislation is instigated in Europe that affects all of us. And that was one of the reasons, maybe an overall reason, one of the concerns why people voted no the last time round, was that they're worried, they're concerned about the way the EU is going. There's talk of further enlargement, and some people say we should put the brakes on all of this and we should deepen the EU rather than widen the EU.
Well, I suppose you're raising a number of issues there. I don't think in terms of elitism was any of if you looked at the research from why people voted no the last time, that was to the forefront. It certainly is a concern. But if you looked at, this treaty originates from the Convention of the Future in Europe, which started in 2002. And present in the negotiations, in open sessions which used the Parliament buildings, were 30 national parliaments who were represented, including accession states who weren't even members at that stage, but who were due to be member states, the 15 governments who were representative of the EU. You had 16 MEPs, you had 3 Euro commissioners, and in all, you had 90 political parties representing everyone from communists on the hard left to Italian neo-fascists on the hard right. So to say that people weren't involved in coming up with this treaty, and it was some sort of elite cabal that came up, but I don't think that bears out the facts of the evidence who were involved.
Yes, we know that there were many people from different fields involved in the Presidium in Europe to actually originally design the European Union Constitution. But aside from that, and aside from the designing of the Lisbon Treaty, there is a concern generally, if you were to talk to people about what way do they want the European Union to go, what do they mean by European Union identity, what does it mean to be a European today, there are concerns that maybe we're accelerating the pace of expansion of the EU too fast, and that maybe we all need to sit back for a while and say, look, what does it mean to be European? How do we want this EU project to be forged in the future? Are we happy about the way that you have this structure in Brussels, out of which come numerous laws which affect us all? Now, part of the problem is that those laws are not actually properly communicated by our own politicians, and there's a lot of national responsibility in not conveying what happens in Brussels. But there is concern among people about what way the EU is going.
That's true, and I would be as concerned as anyone else in those respects. I would be in agreement with a lot of that, but I don't see how putting us in the periphery of the decision making with regards to the direction the EU is going to help our position and strengthen our hand in having our input in what way the EU turns out in the next 30 years, and that's the point I was making at the start.